Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The privileged speech that I will be talking about is the problem that was created in Cebu City last February 15. To begin my speech, the title of my privileged speech is Ang bawat bata ay may pangalan at may karapatan. Of children and their rights, no words can be truer said than those of the famous singing trio, the Apo Hiking Society. Ang bawat bata sa ating mundo ay may pangalan, may karapatan. Last February 15, 2021, Mr. Speaker, the otherwise peaceful learning session conducted at the Lumad Backwit School within the University of San Carlos, Talamban campus, was violently intruded into by the police personnel under the guise of a rescue operation. Photographs and videos of this incident seem to dispel the notion that the incident was a rescue operation. In so much as the children of the video were not acting if they are not being rescued. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, there was much screaming, cries for help, commotion, and struggle. To say the least, the incident, as may be seen from the photos and videos posted online, was an utter and total chaotic. Mr. Speaker, may I be allowed to share a short presentation depicting the situation in the subject incident through photos and videos which were shared by netizens and media outfits online. Kindly play the video. Ito po, Mr. Speaker, ang tinatawag nilang rescue operation na ginawa sa San Carlos Seminary na nag-aaral lang ang 22 na kabataan. Ito po, isang 20 anyos, grade 10. Ito po ay isang 21 anyos na grade 12. Ito po ang rescue operation na sinasabi nila. Clearly, Mr. Speaker, there is something remiss in this so-called rescue operation wherein a 20-year-old boy na gusto lang mag-aral, kailangan pang sakalin. Kailangan pang patulugin ng sakal. 15 tao, 15 kabataan, 15 children were violently attacked by this illegal raid. Mr. Speaker, there are many questions wanting to be asked as clearly. However, one thing evident is this subject incident led to distress, agony, and even trauma to these children. Most certainly, Mr. Speaker, the children in the photos and videos do not feel that they are being rescued. The video footages acquired by our Save Our School network and GMA News, it was shown that excessive force was used against the students and their teachers. It is disturbing that the children were not only exposed to brazen acts of violence towards their teachers and elders, the children were also big victims of these acts of forceful taking and inhumane treatment of people. Most especially the gentleman in white, who, as I said, was just a grade 10 student. He was mauled and suffocated until he passed out by members of our so-called Philippine National Police. While members of the PNP are generally regarded as upright citizens who makes countless sacrifices protecting our rule of law in this country, these photos and footages clearly shows the lapses on the part of the members of the Police Regional Office Regional 7, who without a reservation violently entered the Lumad Backwit School. Mr. Speaker, under Section 1, Article 15 of the 1987 Constitution, the right to education of all citizens to quality education, it is specifically provided in Section 1. The state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The threat of violence extends to all children and includes their spaces for learning and development. With this, Mr. Speaker, I implore our brave and upright police officers to please, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of religion, regardless of social status, please spare the Filipino children and respect their constitutional right to education. From the acts of aggression, Mr. Speaker, spare the children. From undue hostility, Mr. Speaker, spare the children. From any form of violence, Mr. Speaker, please spare the children. With fervor, I condemn the violent acts committed against the children in this incident. I appeal to Chief PNP Debold Sinas to relieve all those who are involved in this illegal raid of children inside the seminary of San Carlos while the House of Investigation is ongoing. I appeal for this to save the very institution which was entasked to protect our children, the Philippine National Police. Lastly, I ask the good government, the Committee on Good Government, the Committee on Welfare and Children, and all our members of this 18th Congress in general to likewise condemn the acts of violence committed against these children and initiate as early as next week, a full investigation in aid of legislation relative to this incident dated February 15, 2021 at the Talamban campus, University of San Carlos. Mr. Speaker, the Philippine National Police is there to protect the Filipino citizen. Sinabi nila to, sinumpaan nila to, nasa na po yung protection na yan? Wala sa ating constitution nakalagay na ang dapat protektahan yung mga mayayaman lamang o mamili tayo kung sinong gusto natin protektahan. This bold, brazen, and brutal attack to our children, what if anak natin yun? Fellow House members, would you allow this thing, a raid, na atakihin ang mga eskwelahan ng anak natin? What is the difference? There is no difference. So, when I saw that video, when I saw that photo, those photos, I cannot just sit back and relax and try to think that this with may iba mag-aayos niyan. I was elected as a congressman of the 18th Congress. It is my right and my duty to stand up for the oppressed, to stand up for these children. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
We thank the Honorable Deputy Speaker, Mikey Romero, for that very forceful and highly informative and significant privilege speech. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, our colleague, Representative Kafemia Kulyamat of Bayan Muna wishes to interpolate Deputy Speaker Romero. I move that she be recognized.
The Honorable Kulyamat is recognized for her interpellation.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Speaker. Ang manifestasyon para sa Ginoong Speaker, mga kapwa kong mambabatas, magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Speaker, nais naming ipahayag ang pagsang-ayon sa mga punto ni Deputy Speaker Romero na kailangan matiyak ang proteksyon ng mga bata mula sa karahasan, lalo na sa mga operasyon ng mga armadong puwersa. Ang mga kabataan at ang katutubong lumad ay kabilang sa mga sektor na napaka-vulnerable sa abuso at paglabag sa karapatan. Sa katotohanan, mahaba na ang kasaysayan ng rights violation sa mga lumad. Dagdag ko lang, Ginoong Speaker, ang nabanggit ni Representative Romero na lalaking nakaputi na marahas na kinuha ng mga pulis ay si Modi Mansimuyat, isang grade 12 lumad student sa Bakwit School, Cebu. Siya ang isa sa mga nakiusap sa mga pulis kasama ang kanilang mga guro. Siya ay kinulong pati ang dalawa pang estudyanteng lumad, sina Jumar Binagat, Ismelito Aribawan, mga grade 2 student ng Bakwit School. Noong Speaker, nais ko lang ibahagi na ayon sa Save Our Schools Network, ang mga estudyanteng ito ang tumulong sa dokumentasyon ng nangyayari ng nayaring police operation. Ang estudyanteng si Jumar binagang kumuha ng video documentation ng insidente. Si Esmelito naman ang nagtiyak ng mga parent consent nila. Ito lang ang kanilang ginagawa, ngunit sa pag-iit ng kanilang karapatan, sila ay kinulong. Ginoong Speaker, hanggang ngayon ay nakakulong pa rin ang mga estudyante, kasama ang dalawang katutubong leader, si Dato Benito Bayaw at si Dato Segundo Milong, at dalawang guro na sila Teacher Rosalie Pucardilla at Chad Buok. At 11 pang mga estudyante. Kahuli naming nakuhang balita ay nasa kustudya pa rin sila ng Estado hanggang ngayon. Nagpapasalamat po kami kay Representative Romero, Deputy Speaker, sa inisyatiba upang matiyak ang kapakanan ng kabataang lumad. Tulad ng kanyang nabanggit na ang pagdakip ng mga bata at kinulong ng mga estudyante, mga guro, mga dato, hindi mga kriminal, hindi mga terorista. Maging ang DSWD sa Cebu ay nagpahayag na walang warfare training na nabanggit sa mga nakapanayam nilang estudyante. Bakit nakakulong pa rin sila sa Bakwit School? Mananatili ang aming panawagan, agarang palayain ang Lumad 26, palayain ang Bakwit School sa Cebu, itigil ang atake sa mga lumad. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the next of our colleagues who wishes to interpolate, Deputy Speaker Romero.
We have Deputy Speaker, Majority Leader, the response of our sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, can I give a response?
Yes, go ahead. So the Deputy Speaker, Mikey Romero, is hereby recognized for the response.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are 15 minors, meaning below the age of 18, that were part of those so-called rescue operation. Rescue pero pinagsasakal nila yung mga bata. There are also 4 to 5 who are a little above 18, who are 20 years old. And I demand also to follow Congresswoman's request for an immediate release of these children. I think they're politicizing this. The fact of the matter is, mga bata to eh. Nag-aaral lang sila eh. Nasa loob sila ng kumbento. Sa loob ng San Carlos Seminary. How can even brainwashing them be even logical or rational at this point? So I support our good Congresswoman and immediate release of these children. Most of them are below 18 and some of them are below 21. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for the response. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move we recognize the distinguished Deputy Speaker from the 6th District of Manila, the Honorable Deputy Speaker Abante. Interpolate the Honorable Romero.
The Deputy Speaker, Benny Abante, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, would my good friend, Deputy Speaker Mike Romero, yield to some clarificatory questions, Mr. Speaker?
With honor, Mr. Speaker.
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I share the privileged speech, Mr. Speaker, of Deputy Speaker Mike Romero on the arrest of those children. The fact that the school is not even a state university, am I right, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor? And it is even a religious university, Mr. Speaker. You have said that 50 students have been actually arrested by the Philippine National Police.
Mr. Speaker, it's 22 students. 15 of them are below the age of 18.
Mr. Speaker, it means that what the Philippine National Police did was actually an overkill of their operations, which is not actually usual. No. Do you believe, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, that what the Philippine National Police did was actually illegal and in violation of the Constitution?
That is correct, Mr. Speaker. Wala man silang complaint nor warrant of arrest.
The Speaker, according to the Constitution, on state policies, in Section 12, it says, the state recognizes the sanctity of family life and shall protect and strengthen the family as a basic autonomous social institution. The natural and primary right and duty of parents in rearing of the youth for civic efficiency, the development of moral character shall receive the support of the government. Section 13 says the state recognizes the vital role of the youth in nation building and shall promote and protect their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being. It shall inculcate in the youth patriotism and nationalism and encourage their involvement in public and civic affairs. Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, would you think that Section 13 of the Constitution was violated by the Philippine National Police in arresting those 22 children, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, definitely. The clear violation of not only the Constitution, but the very basic rights of individuals.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, the rules of engagement with the Philippine National Police is when the arrest would be done, that first of all, that the rights of the one arrested should be read, Mr. Speaker. Am I right?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Was the rights of the offended party actually mentioned by the Philippine National Police or the arresting team, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor?
Mr. Speaker, from the part when I saw the video, there was even no reading of any Miranda rights or any rights to tell them what they are accused of. Basta pinik up na lang, sinakal, sinakay sa kotse, binuhat parang baboy. Kung nakita nyo, these are children. These are children studying. Alam nyo, despite them being 20 years old, hindi pa sila nakakapag-aral dahil they were deprived of studies. So, kaya itong mga 20 years old are just in grade 12, grade 10 to 12. Kasi this is their only chance to study. Mr. Speaker.
Therefore, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, that is a clear violation of Section 12 of the Bill of Rights.
Yes, Mr.
It
Speaker.
says, any person under investigation for the commission of an offense shall have the right to be informed of his right to remain silent and to have competent and independent counsel, preferably of his own choice. That was not even said, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Very, very, very much correct.
In number 2 of Section 12, it says, no torture, force, violence, threat, intimidation, or any other means which vitiate the free will shall be used against them. Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, would you think that the arresting officers actually violated number 2 of Section 12, in which they actually forced them to be arrested, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor?
Mr. Speaker, lahat ng hindi pwedeng gawin, ginawa nila. That is very clear from all the videos, Mr. Speaker.
Palagay niyo po, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, that is actually the result of the passing of the anti-terror law, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor?
Mr. Speaker, I don't think it's part of the anti-terror law for purposes dahil it is just brutal raid of children. No? I want to put it at that context, Mr. Speaker.
The very reason why, Mr. Speaker, I mentioned about the anti-terror law, because it was being deliberated here in the plenary, I'm one of those that oppose the anti-terror law because the anti-terror law, Mr. Speaker, can be subject to abuse. And I would think that that would be the very reason why these arresting officers have arrested these minors, Mr. Speaker. They might use the new law that's still being questioned in the Supreme Court, Mr. Speaker, the anti-terror law. That's why I am asking my good friend, Deputy Speaker Mike Romero, on what he thinks about that. Nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, you know, alam mo, nakalagay po sa Biblia, ang ating Panginoong Jesucristo, pinipigilan yung mga apostol na lumapit ang mga kabataan sa Kanya. Ang sabi ng Panginoong Jesucristo, huwag mong pigilan yung mga kabataan na yan, sapagkat yung mga kabataan na yan, yan ang larawan ng kaharian ng langit. Pero nakikita po natin, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, na ito pong ginawa ng arresting team ng Philippine National Police ay hindi po kinilala ang karapatan ng mga kabataan. So the question would be this, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor. Naniniwala ako, heads must roll in the Philippine National Police. Do you believe that, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, kailangan matigil na to. Hindi na dapat matularan, magaya, o maulit ang mga pangyayaring to. Ang tanong ko nga sa inyo, Mr. Speaker, ang mga anak natin, ang mga apo natin nag-aaral. If we don't stop it now, then may precedent na. Pwedeng mangyari to sa ating mga anak, apo, kamag-anak, napasukan na lang ng pulis ang mga eskwelahan at pulutin na lang. Talad ka rin ang mga anak natin at parang baboy, ilabas sila, Mr. Speaker.
Palagay niyo po kaya, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, may responsibility dito ang Philippine National Police Director General on the issue of command responsibility, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I think the responsibility lies on the operating element of the PNP. No, I don't like to generalize ang PNP. No, they're supposed to protect us, but in this scenario, which I hope it's an isolated case, that's why I'm asking our PNP Chief Debold Sinas to relieve those who are involved in this illegal raid right away.
Therefore, Mr. Speaker, dapat ang gawin ngayon ng Philippine National Police Chief, i-relieve na yung nag-operate ng arrest. Oo.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I support that 100%.
Ang tanong ko, Mr. Speaker, halimbawa, sapagkat meron na tayo ilang mga situations sa Philippine National Police na hindi po nire-relieve. Halimbawa po kaya, Mr. Speaker, ang ating chief ay hindi po nire-relieve yung mga nag-operate doon sa mga arrest na yan, Mr. Speaker. Ano dapat siguro ang pinakamagandang gawin?
Mr. Speaker, if you're asking, if ang question nyo earlier is there command responsibility? Pagka ho hindi ni-relieve itong mga polis na to, nakasabwat sa illegal raid ng mga bata, ibig sabihin, may basbas po sa taas to. And mahihirapan ho tayo, pag nag-hearing tayo dito, na the command responsibility might go up, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I fully support the manifestation and privileged speech of Deputy Speaker Mikey Royo. Nawa po, as soon as possible, ay pwede po nating nang i-resolve ang bagay na ito. Kung kinakailangan po na itong kongresong ito ay imbestigahan ang nangyaring yan upang hindi na po maulit, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor. Again, maraming salamat po, Deputy Speaker. Speaker, salamat po sa pagkakataon na ako po yung makapagtanong sa inyo. Thank you very much and God bless you.
Kung saan nagkaroon daw ng raid sa paaralan. Ilan ba ho ang mga ni-rescue? Ang sabi nga, ni-rescue daw ng kapulisan, ginoong tagapagsalita.
Mr. Speaker, there are 22, and out of the 22, there are 15 minors.
22 at ang 15 sa kanila ay wala pa sa hustong edad at nasa ilalim pa ng parental authority. Tama ba ho yun?
Tama po, Mr. Speaker.
At pag sila po ay na-under parental authority, ang ibig sabihin, pwede hong magreklamo ang mga magulang sa kapulisan kung sa tingin nila ang kanilang mga anak ay nalalagay sa alanganin o kaya't meron silang mga pagdududa sa mga nangyayari sa kanilang mga anak. Pwede silang magreklamo sa kapulisan tungkol dito.
Tama po, Mr. Speaker.
So, ito ba'y inalam na ho ng ginoong tagapagsalita kung merong hong reklamong ibinigay o ginawad ang mga magulang na mga bata na nirescue ng mga pulis?
Sa pagkaalam ko po, Mr. Speaker, ito pong mga batang to ay nagbigay ng parental consent.
Ang tanong ko ho kung may reklamo ba ang mga magulang sa mga kapulisan, kaya't ang mga pulis ay nagpunta sa lugar na pinangyarihan upang tingnan o kaya't manghuli kung meron mang lumalabag sa ating batas.
Sa pagkaalam ko po, Mr. Speaker, wala pong complaint na nangyari. Wala po silang natanggap na complaint.
Ayun ho ang inyong pagkakaalam. Kung meron hong reklamong ang mga magulang, magbabago ba ang inyong pag-iisip tungkol sa bagay na ito?
Mr. Speaker, ang akin po is the act of violence against children.
Hindi ho natin gusto yon. Wala ho rito sa kapulungan ito ang magnanais na magkaroon ng pagbubusabos ng mga taong bayan. Wala ho sa atin dito na papayag na gawin ito. Yung sa video niyo ho ba, identified niyo ba ho, nakilala niyo yung 5 pinakita nyo na bilang mga minor de edad o sila ba'y nasa hustong gulang na?
Doon sa mga video, at least na-identify ko mga 3. And they're the range of, some of them are 20, some of them, yung mga bata hong hinahatak at umiiyak, mga minor.
Pero hindi kayo sigurado kung ilang taon na ito mga taong ito na hinuli. Lalo na yung mga pinakita nyo sa video. Wala kayong kaalaman sa kanilang mga pangalan, edad, estado sa buhay, o kaya't mga kanilang personal circumstances. Meron ba kayong alam sa mga ito?
Mr. Speaker, alam ko po lahat ng pangalan nila, nandito po sa akin, pero for purposes po of also protecting their identities, hindi ko po ilalabas dito.
Kasi ano ho yan ang aking hong tinatanong dito, kung sila ba'y nasa hustong gulang na. Kung ganyan ho ang inyong sagot, parang hindi ho pantay ang labanan at kumakampi tayo ng hindi ho natin binibigay ang lahat ng dapat malaman ng kapulungang ito sapagkat tayo pa yung magdidesisyon dito, hindi lang dahil sa emosyon, kundi dahil sa katotohanan ng mga pangyayari. Ika nga sa Ingles, the factual antecedents surrounding the case.
I agree, Mr. Speaker, with our good Deputy Majority Leader, Senior Deputy Majority. That's why I'm forwarding this to the good government as well as the Committee on Children's Welfare to further investigate this matter. No? And if there are PNP officers that are involved, also the punishment should be given to them.
Ngunit ang isang katanungan ko ho na hindi pa sinasagot, kung meron ho magulang na nagreklamo sa kapulisan, at ito hindi nyo naman alam kung meron o wala, kung meron bang magulang na nagreklamo sa kapulisan, magbabago ba ang inyong pagtingin sa pagpunta ng mga pulis dito sa paaralang ito?
Mr. Speaker, yung pong manner of getting the children is what I am espousing. Now, hindi ko pa ho nakikita if there is a complaint dahil tinatago ng PNP yan. But hindi ho magbabago ang pasya ko on how they treated and maltreated and put violence into these children.
Children ba ho, yung mga bata ba ho ang kanilang binusabos o ito ba yung mga mas matatandang mga kasama ng grupong ito?
There are 15 children below the age of minor.
Below 18 years old.
Below 18 and a few that are considered as their teachers.
At sa mga 5 pinakita nyo sa inyong video na hindi hinawakan na maayos ng mga pulis, ilan ba ho rito ang nasa hustong edad at ilan dito ang minor de edad?
According to Rappler, Inquirer, GMA, out of the 22, 15 ang minor de edad and 5 ang nasa age yata ng 20 pababa, 18 to 20, and yung 2 yata dito are considered datu.
Ganun po, ang susunod na katanungan ko kasi ay tungkol sa paaralan. Ano ba ang tinuturo sa paaralan ito na inyong tinutukoy? Na naging dahilan ng pangyayaring ito?
Meron po akong nakasulat na curriculum. I was given the curriculum of this and it is not different from the curriculum that we have from the DepEd na yung mga curriculum na to ranges from grade 8 to grade 12.
Itong paaralan na to ba ho ay merong permit sa DepEd na mag-operate bilang paaralan?
I don't have any knowledge of that, Mr. Speaker.
Hindi, kasi mahalaga sa issue yan eh. Kung itong mga paaralan nito ay kinikilala ng ating gobyerno sapagkat lahat po ng paaralan ay dapat may permit sa gobyerno. Di ba? Ganun ho ang lipunan natin. Kailangan ho may pahintulot ang gobyerno para mag-operate ang isang paaralan. Kaya dapat ho, alamin natin yan, ginoong tagapagsalita, di ba ho?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Di ba ho, dapat alamin natin kung merong permit o wala ang paaralang ito. Kasi kung meron nagreklamo magulang, ang paaralan ay walang permit galing sa gobyerno at ang kanilang anak ay menor de edad, nasa tamang lugar naman ng kapulisan na tingnan o kaya sa kanilang pagtingin kung may makitang violation o paglabag sa batas, ay hulihin ang mga lumalabag sa batas. Tama ho ba yun?
Ano ho kaya ang complaint na yun? Hindi ko rin maintindihan. Ano ho ba mako-complaint?
Alam niyo ho, kahit sa civil code natin, alienation of affections, pwede ho maging panggalingan ng isang damage suit. Kung ito po ay illegal detention, lalo na ho, life imprisonment ho ang kapalit niyan. Kung ito po ay hindi mo natin alam yan eh, kung ano talaga yung kasi wala naman ako sa lugar na yon, hindi ho ako kasama sa nag-raid at hindi pa naman ako kasama sa lahat. Ang alam ko lang ho, meron tayong pinag-uusapan dito ng mga batang nirescue sa paaralan at yung paaralan na to, tinatanong ko ho sa inyo kung meron silang permit sa gobyerno. Kung ito po ay kinikilala ng gobyerno na pwedeng mag-operate bilang paaralan.
Mr. Speaker, I think the San Carlos Seminary is also a declared, they can...
Sila ba ho ay rehistradong estudyante ng San Carlos
seminary.
Seminary?
So I had the
Ito ba'y
impression
paaralan, ang
na
seminaryo?
pwede silang
Ginoong tagapagsalita. Kasi
educate ng mga tao,
oho,
mga children.
ang seminaryo ay isang religious school. Ito po ay isang theological school. Ngayon, ang tanong ko sa inyo, kung sinasabi niyong ito ay San Carlos Seminary, sila ba ho ay registered na estudyante ng paaralang ito o kaya ng seminaryong ito?
Mr. Speaker, dahil ho, these children are from Davao, lumipat ho ng Cebu, based on my knowledge, and the SVD housed them in the San Carlos Seminary to be taught yung mga grade nila, no? Grade 8 to 12. And yung mga nakuha, some of them are their teachers, Mr. Speaker.
O, di ang tanong ho natin dyan, galing Davao yung mga bata, lumipat ng Cebu. Kasama ba yung mga magulang na lumipat sila mula Davao hanggang Cebu?
I also have a copy of all their parental guidance, yung approval ng mga parents nila na nandyan sila sa Cebu and they're being taught.
Ito bang approval na ito, pwedeng bawiin ng magulang o hindi po?
Pasensya na po. Mr. Speaker, can you repeat the question?
Ang mga parental approval na sinasabi nyo, may karapatan ba ho ang magulang na bawiin na kanilang approval o wala?
Definitely, they have all the right, no, as parents like us.
Kung gayon,
Bawiin anything.
marahil po, sana, maging patas tayo sa pagtingin sa bagay na ito. Alam mo naman natin, ang mga pulis po ay lingkod bayan. At ang tingin ko ho, wala sa ating bansa na gustong lumabag sa batas. Kaya kung meron ho tayong nakitang paglabag sa batas, baka marahil ho, kailangan malaman natin at maging maliwanag tayo at marinig natin ang dalawang panig. Yun lang po ang aking tinuturo sa inyo, minumungkahi dito. Hindi po ako kumakampi ng kahit saan. Ang nakita ko kasi isang panig lang ang naririnig. Marahil mas mabuti kung dalawang panig po ay naririnig natin. At sa pagdinig po, marahil ay sasamahan ko kayo upang malinaw natin, mapag-usapan ang isyong ito at marinig natin kung ano talaga ang pinanggalingan ng kaguluhan. Di ba ho, no? Kaya maraming salamat po sa inyong oras na ibinigay sa akin. At ako po'y nagnanais na magkaisa sa inyo sa naalamin ang katotohanan sa likod ng bagay na ito. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong tagapagsalita. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, if I may.
Yes, please proceed. Deputy Speaker,
Yes,
Romero.
Actually, I welcome and support the manifestation of our good Senior Deputy Majority Leader. In fact, it is a chance also for the Philippine National Police as an institution protecting us to clear their side, no? And also to punish, if there is need to punish, kung ano naman ang kasalanan ng mga gumawa nito. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker Romero. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Arlene Brosas to interpellate Deputy Speaker Romero.
The Honorable Arlene Rosas is recognized to interpellate the sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a manifestation of support for Deputy Speaker Romero's privileged speech. Maraming salamat po, Deputy Speaker Romero, sa pagtindig kaugnay sa isyong ito na lubos na nakakabahala para sa kalagayan ng ating mga katutubo. Mr. Speaker, sabi ni Shresilin Empong, isang batang lumad mula sa dokumentaryong Bullet Laced Dreams noong 2020. Why is it that those who help defend our ancestral lands are the ones seen as evil? Matinding galit at lungkot ang aming nararamdaman sa nangyaring pagsalakay ng PNP Police Regional Office 7 sa santuaryo ng mga batang lumad sa University of San Carlos sa Talamban, Cebu. Sila po ay Bakwit School na may permit ng CTCSM at nakipag-usap sa Archdiocese of Cebu at San Carlos University para po sila ay tanggapin. Meanwhile, dahil inabot po sila ng panahon ng lockdown. Nakita natin sa pinresentang mga larawan at video ni Deputy Speaker Romero ang panggugulo ng mga pulis sa tinutuluyan ng mga lumad. Isa raw itong rescue operation, yun ang pinapalabas. Ngunit saksi sa mga kuhang video kung paano naghumiyaw at nagsiiyak ang mga bata noong pasukin sila ng kapulisan. Tahasang pinaghihila, pinagbubuhat, pinosasan ang 26 na lumad, kabilang dito ang kanilang voluntaryong mga guro at kanilang mga datu. Mahalagang malaman ng mga kinatawan dito sa Kongreso kung bakit nga sa isang universidad pansamantalang tumutuloy ang mga lumad. Mr. Speaker, mayaman ang kultura ng ating mga katutubo. Dahil sa timog na bahagi ng Pilipinas, matatagpuan ang mga katutubong lumad. Hindi sila naaabot ng tulong mula sa gobyerno at isa na rito ang edukasyon. Nagtayo ang mga lumad ng sarili nilang eskwelahan sa tulong ng mga iba't ibang individual at organisasyon. Kaiba sa mga tradisyonal na paaralan, tinuturuan sa mga paaralang ito ang mga lumad hindi lamang magsulat at magbasa, kundi paano pahalagahan ang mga likas na yaman at ng kahalagahan ng kanilang lupang ninuno. Tinuturuan sila rito kung paano magtanim at ang kanilang mga ani ay iuuwi nila sa kanilang mga tahanan. Dahil lamang sa lubos na pagmamahal at pagtatanggol ng mga lumad sa kanilang lupang ninuno at sa kultura nilang nalinang dito, pinaparatangan silang mga rebelde o miyembro ng New People's Army. Patuloy na minimilitarisa at binobomba kahit sa kalagitnaan ng gabi ang kanilang mga komunidad. Ginagawang kampo ng mga militar ang kanilang mga tahanan, nasaksihan nila ang pagpaday ng mga sundalo sa kanilang mga magulang. Pilit na pinapasara ang itinayo nilang mga paaralan. Dahil dito, napipilitan silang magbakwit sa ibang lugar. Mr. Speaker, hindi na bago ang ganitong pangyayari. Noong nakaraang taon lamang, pinasok ng mga paramilitary ang UCCP Haran na tinutuluyan ng mga lumad mula pa noong 2015. Gobyerno mismo ang naglalagay sa panganib at pumapatay sa ating mga katutubong walang ibang ginawa kundi depensahan ang kanilang mga lupang ninuno mula sa pandarambong sa kalikasan. Hindi dapat natin gawing normal ang pagpatay, pagbobomba, pagsalakay at pandarahas sa kanila. Nag-file din po ang kinatawang ito kasama ang Makabayan Block ng resolusyon hinggil dito. Hindi papayag ang kinatawang ito na mababaon na lamang sa limot ang napakaraming kaso ng pananakot, pagpatay sa ating mga katutubo. Naninindigan ng Gabriela Women's Party kasama ang malawak na hanay ng masa na dapat panagutin ang PNP, ang AFP at ang National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict sa tahasang paglabag sa karapatang pantao ng ating mga katutubo. Free the Lumad 26, Free Lumad Bakwit Cebu. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, since I think there is a technical... may
I move that we recognize the Honorable Representative Ria Vergara for her interpellation. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, the Congresswoman Ria Vergara is recognized. Is she present or in Zoom? Yes, the Honorable Vergara is now recognized. We see you very well in Zoom. I think you're on mute, so unmute, please. We cannot hear you.
There. Can I be heard now, Mr. Speaker?
Now, very loud and clear. Proceed, Congresswoman Vergara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon. I commend and join Deputy Speaker Mikey Romero on his brave and honest, privileged speech. Whether the PNP had authority from the parents, whether San Carlos is an accredited university, these are only secondary to the privileged speech of Deputy Speaker Romero. What he did was condemn the violent and traumatic manner the children were allegedly rescued. And for bringing to light this reprehensible type of operations, I thank you, Deputy Speaker Mikey Romero, as a mother and as a fellow colleague who believe that children's rights must always be upheld. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Congresswoman Ria. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, please give your response, our Deputy Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Congresswoman Ria Vergara. The context here is contained to the treatment or maltreatment of children. Whether there are lumads, whether there are lapses in the police process, the fact of the matter is the children should be prioritized. Dapat sila protektahan natin, wala nang iba. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize the Honorable Representative from Bayan Muna Party List, Representative Ferdinand Gaite. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, the Honorable Ferdy Gaite is now recognized.
Salamat po, Mr. Speaker. At ang kinataong ito ay nakikisa at sumusuporta sa napaka-maramdamin at very honest na privileged speech na ating kagalang-galang na Deputy Speaker Mike Romero. Sabi nila, a picture speaks 1,000 words. But that video spoke more than that. Nakita po yung trauma sa ating mga kabataan, kahit na ano pa ang sinasabing akusasyon na inihahapag sa kanila, they do not deserve that. Kung ano man yung sinasabing walang permit, walang ugnayan sa San Carlos Convent, kung ano man ang akusasyon, our children do not deserve that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Distinguished the response of our Deputy Speaker.
Yes, Congressman. Maraming po salamat, Mr. Speaker. And it is very emotional. That's why I as a parent, I feel every movement, every thing na ginawa doon. No? Because I am a parent, a loving parent. I love my children. So nararamdaman ko yung sakit na ginagawa ng mga ito, no? We can be exposed to this and it has to stop somewhere. And it has to stop today. Itong mga to, whether mayayaman, whether mahirap na eskwelahan, whether indigents, whether ano pa siya, it cannot happen again. This maltreatment of children or in front of children cannot happen again in our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.